This is the moment that the victory celebration turned violent. Gunfire, screams, as a horrifying reality sent fans, including families, running for their lives.
We have multiple victims over here.
You can see first responders giving CPR and fans being loaded onto stretchers.
I hear down, 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 everybody down.
800 law enforcement officers were on site, many running toward the gunfire, taking 2 armed suspects into custody. As all this was unfolding, we were covering the celebration live. And you've got kids and you've got elderly people and you're not expecting something like this. It was just as horrible a feeling as you can imagine. People began to run as hard as they could in all directions. People knocked down, children knocked down. A nearby level 1 trauma center is now caring for some of the victims.
There is one deceased person. Our gunshot wound total has went up to 22.
Late today, Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes tweeted, quote, praying for Kansas City.
We were here for a safe celebration, and because of 2 bad actors or more, it is why we're standing here today.
This is absolutely a tragedy, the likes of which we would have never expected in Kansas City, and the likes of which we will remember for some time.
FBI and ATF agents remain on the scene to help with the investigation. They were here as part of parade security. Law enforcement officials tell us there is no evidence that this was an act of terrorism. John?
Neil Jones, thank you. Joining me now is Austin Pritchett and Astor Bubbles. They were at the parade when the shooting began. First of all, to both of you, we're very glad that you are safe and able to join us. Austin, let me start with you. What was the first thing that went through your head when you started hearing gunfire?
So it was initially when we were about to exit the rally, it just ended. And so you hear the gunshots and, you know, initially in my head, I was like, oh, you know, fireworks. But then it clicked. Yeah, I was in the military. So then immediately it clicked. I was like, oh, no, that's gunshots. And I was like, oh, gunshots. And I
looked at each other and ran towards.
Yeah, we looked down and you could see the crowd start to run away. And then we saw people start to drop to, we saw people drop to the ground, and it was just a surreal event.
Astor, had you ever thought before today, because there are a lot of shootings in America, have you ever thought, if I'm in a situation like that, this is what I'd do?
No, I don't think anything can really prepare you for what you're going to do in that situation. I can't imagine this ever happening, but we ended up being right there.
And Austin, you mentioned you were in the. Sorry, go ahead, Astor.
Oh, I said our first thought was just to help.
Did you know, Astor, where the shooting was coming from, or was it just a sense of chaos and mayhem?
I don't know if I know exactly where the shots came from, but I could hear the general area, and I saw people go down.
And Austin, what was your reaction? You said you'd been in the military. Had you, I mean, what kicked in your mind? Had you ever thought something like this might happen, that you would be around gunfire?
So, you know, we go through active shooter training every year and everything like that. So, you know, immediately I recognized it as that.
Astor, tell me what your thinking was about going to the parade, what you were hoping for today, what your thoughts were before the mayhem started.
Well, it was my first Chiefs parade, so I didn't really know what to expect. Obviously not what happened, but I was excited. I mean, everyone was telling me how big of an event it was, and it was supposed to be super fun, and we were having a really good time until that happened.
So we ended up like booking it down an alley. People followed us, and it was a dead end.
And it was barricade. Pushed over the barricades, and we jumped into the parking garage, and we were helping lift people through the parking garage ledges to get out of there.
And then we exit the parking garage and it just seems like everything's normal. Like no one knows what's going on.
Aster, sometimes when this happens, people say, how did this happen in our community? Do you feel that way? Or this is the 48th mass shooting in America this year. Shocking, but was it surprising?
I mean, it's appalling at this point. You know, at what point do we quit with the, bluntly, thoughts and prayers? Obviously, it's not helping. You know, this is a epidemic in America. 48, we're in February. 48 mass shootings, not even 2 full months of the year is ridiculous. And it just keeps getting worse year in and year out. And, I own guns at home. So, but something has to change.
CBS News contributor and a former assistant secretary for counterterrorism, threat prevention, and law enforcement policy for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Your first reaction to what you've learned so far about today?
Well, my first reaction is horror that this has happened again and that so many innocent lives were impacted by what unfolded in Kansas City. But I have to tell you, John, I'm not surprised. Having worked on mass shootings at the Department of Homeland Security, our playbook for these kinds of incidents is still ingrained in my memory because they happen so often.
Sam, in a situation like this, given the firepower that's readily available, how much can the best hardened target do against somebody who's got what's available in American gun stores? I mean, you can prepare, but give us the sense of how much you can prepare for and how much, no matter how prepared you are, you can't stop.
Well, hard security preparations alone are not going to solve the gun epidemic. In many hard security targets, there are perimeters set up. There's inspections of individuals before they enter a facility, whether it be pat down, there's some other form of technology to see if they have a weapon on their person. But outside of that perimeter, individuals are not undergoing the kind of screening that would necessarily detect a weapon. And in this case, I don't imagine, for example, that a parking garage had that kind of security perimeter set up. So we can't have a security perimeter around the whole country, unfortunately. And so individuals who have weapons, particularly concealed carry licenses or even open carry in some states, means that weapons can come closer to security perimeters and to mass density events like parades.